You guys are really here, huh? This is crazy. Yeah, that's me. So here we are. I'm going to start by, I guess my beginnings. Theme of today is backwards. Sorry about my accent. It's probably going to fuck up a bunch of words, but we'll have to deal with that. That's me and my brother as children, always wanting to be rock stars. That's why we had to start with Introduction and Public Enemy. And this is a drawing I did of us as kids growing up in South Boston. Starting with artwork that your mom puts on the refrigerator, which tells you about my awesome hairstyles, which started then and continued to today. Sketchbooks. I don't know if you guys realize how important those things are, but they're the architectural digests to our future. Sorry, I'm going to sit down. I'm a little nervous. You guys, I had coffee too. I'm all like... And this was the first piece I ever did that actually got me recognition that kind of started my art career at 15. I won a Boston Scholastic Art Award, which was the beginning of, oh, I can do this for a living. Because I didn't really know how to do anything else, and still don't, actually. And then I tried to do it again as I was an adult. And I still like the other one better, because it's real. I didn't know what I was doing. Then I was like, oh, I can do it like this now. It's like, no. This is my first ambitious project with the band Extreme, More Than Words. Some of you guys are over 30 to understand that song, right? Kind of a weird story that comes full circle. My brother was actually playing with them recently. When I was a kid, I did this album cover for them and sent it in. I mailed it in. You know, your parents tell you, like, oh, just mail it in. I'm like, I don't know, how do you do that? But I mailed it in. They said, thank you, but we can't use it. And they sent it back to me. And I actually had a show in Boston last September where the singer, Gary Sharon, was there, and he actually hired me to do his next album cover. So that's weird how it comes full circle, which is completely backwards. Starting as a kid, like, I'm going to do this, and then it actually happened. So this is more just early sketchbook stuff. Wanted to open a skateboard company when I was a kid. Not that I skateboarded, but I didn't want to hurt my hands, so I hung out with them. They were always cooler than anyone else. And that's signed by Ace Frehley. This is cool. So I just started basically sketching stuff and doodling for years. And after high school, I got accepted to the Art Institute of Boston. I went there for a year. And then I saw the Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida, and was like, whoa, that place has good weather and there's a beach. It's a lot different than Boston weather. So I figured I'd beat the system and live on vacation and try to learn what I'm going to inevitably do for a living. So this is some stuff that got me into school. Press kits. This little stupid drawings, sketches, still trying to make my way. Actually, after 2 years at Ringling, I actually realized that the education was a little bit too expensive to play, so decided to cut it loose after being told by a professor that colored pencil was kind of the medium that I was using at the time, and still am, and that it wasn't a successful medium and it would never be accepted, which is kind of the motivation that you need. You need to be told what you can't do all the time. I mean, as far as creative people is concerned, there's so many times that people just tell you, you know what you should do? And you should be like, tell them to be quiet, because you know what you should do, and that's why you do it. More sketch stuff. So after Ringling, I went out to California, and like every other failed art student, I worked at an art store supply in Berkeley, California, and got my ghetto education living in Oakland, which was nice. Continued to keep drawing stuff. And I slowly started to realize that if I worked on a style enough, maybe I could start getting some freelance work. So I did that. I was, sorry, I'm still like really nervous up here. I thought I'd be better than this. Doing freelance work for Icon magazine. A girlfriend of mine, Lisa, hooked me up with my first illustration gig, which was pretty thrilling, being a failed artist for so long, and then you finally get a job and you're like, oh my God, I can totally do this. This is awesome. You open up a magazine and you see yourself in there. It's crazy. So after that started, I was bartending in New York. I'm sorry, did I tell you that I moved to New York after California failed? No, woo. Actually, there is one story I did want to get into. Was after I was living in California and I couldn't afford it anymore, I had to move back to Boston, and I was probably about 23 at the time. And I got a job moving spools of wire from trucks, which manual labor. And I actually went the first day I went there to start. The boss came out and told me what I had to do, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think I want to work here. And he's like, well, today's your first day. You got to start today. And it's like, no, I don't think so. I don't want to work for you, and I don't want to move those spools. So I got fired. I quit right then, and I had to walk back to my mom's house. And it's like a 5-mile walk, and it was cold, and it was uphill, and it was in the snow, all that stuff. And I walked back, and that's when I decided I was going to pack up all my stuff and move to New York City and start this career thing, which is what I did. So I get to New York, and I don't know anybody, and I started to do some freelance little greeting cards and stuff I could do freelance around the city, and started to perfect this colored pencil thing while bartending in New York. And I got a good, I mean, how many people here have lived in New York? Yes? I mean, just living there alone is like that's an education in itself. All the people, and more so than school, I think, the professional side of it was like going to like military art camp working for people, because they didn't have time to tell you what they thought. They just kind of yelled a lot. So I had my first show there in 1999, and it was based on subway systems and people in New York. This is a piece from that show. It's all colored pencil. This is Icon magazine. This was the first illustration gig that I got, I was saying before, which is kind of funny. It's Adam Durowitz from The Counting Crows, and how people hate whiny singers, which was a great first job for me because I hate Counting Crows. I think they suck. So did that, and then I started doing some set design stuff while I was there, and I actually landed a gig working for Depeche Mode. I did a video for Depeche Mode, building the set and painting it and hanging out with them and stuff, and that was insane. That was like a big thrill. So I started doing some set design with a friend of mine, Charles Marklin, and together we started a company called Metro Finishes. I'll get into that a little bit later. But we started doing set stuff in New York, and then after about 3 months of doing that, we came down to Florida to visit some friends to get out of the weather for a week. And we saw that Universal was hiring for Portofino Bay hotels to design those, so we got hired, which was weird. So we moved down here together to work for Nassel. Anyone ever heard of Nassel here? Yeah? Worked with them and continued to finally have like a real job that paid bills, and then continue the artwork stuff on the side, which is what this is behind me. Still New York illustration stuff. This is a flyer from my first show in Orlando. This was 2001, I believe, at Harold and Maude's, which is no longer here. I mean, I basically just threw a bunch of images together so you guys can get familiar with my work, if you haven't seen it already. This is some earlier stuff. This is all about 2002, while we were still doing the Nassel gig, working full-time and trying to do the art on the side, and realizing how much time I didn't have to do anything else, which was awesome. Some more stuff. And then the DJ thing happened when I moved down here. Yeah, that's me. I was really into the music thing too. I always wanted to be a musician too, because my brother was one. And but then I was really into dance music and started DJing down here in probably, I guess that was 1999. And that I always wanted it to be synonymous between like the artwork and the DJ thing, because I thought they would come together, but they didn't. It didn't really work out that way. But I did land some gigs with it as far as doing some illustration stuff. That's my first album cover I did for Q Burns. If you guys know Q Burns' Abstract Message from Florida. Guy's kind of a legend. And then doing the flyers for the shows and trying to... I would actually give the flyers away as a contest for people to come out to promote the work, which didn't really work either, unfortunately. This is some more flyers. As you see, it's really music-based stuff. This is DJing at the Miami Music Conference, which was the craziest thing ever. I always said if I ever got to DJ there, I'd quit and then focus on my artwork full time, which I did. Sorry, I'm all like scared up here. Does anyone have any questions that you want to ask me to get done with talking? Okay, thank you, thank you. Maybe I should stand up. Thanks. Yeah, so that's that whole thing. I don't know if I'm being timelined on this, disco balls. Some fan actually left these in front of my house one day. I came home and there was a whole big bag of disco balls, which I thought was pretty cool. I said something in a magazine. I got this interview, and I said that they asked me why I have the association with music and disco balls so much, and I said, well, when you see a disco ball, it's always a good sign. So it's turned into this thing where people like leave them at my house, so they, so I got a whole. If anyone needs one, I'm right here. So because I got on that Orlando Weekly cover, I started doing covers for them, which is funny. This is kind of an interesting piece because this was October 1999, which is kind of weird because it kind of looks like 9/11, but it was actually 2 years beforehand. So if you guys want to know your future, right here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No problem. This was something I did for them. This was I almost got sued because of this image. For Disney was taking all the. It's kind of a long story, but Disney was kind of screwing over some people. And the Weekly did a story about it after 9/11 about spending money and how they were utilizing it. And this actually won a Florida Press Illustration Award, which was cool for the first time. And then I started working some stuff, freelance stuff, over at the Weekly Planet, which is now defunct. I think it's Creative Loafing now. There's some local celebrities there, good friends of mine, Soloquist of Sound. Anyone know them? You guys know Swanberger? Sure, everyone, yeah. You know, right? Sorry, just associated him because he was black. Chuck D, awesome. I have a Chuck D, obviously Public Enemy problem. Sam Rivers, who just passed away last year, covers. Just so you can kind of see the variation of stuff as far as the covers are concerned. So at the same time this is going on, Metro Finishes, like I said, the company that I started with Chuck after we left Nassau, was to start doing some residential stuff, theming work, because we could do it. I was like, why are we working for Nassau if we can just do this on our own? Why work hourly when you can do what you want? So we started doing some local stuff around town. That's actually Sweet Bee. Used to be Knock Knock back in the day. It's kind of a whack club. Sorry if anyone goes there, but people are horrible in there. It's really bad. This is the Dynatech building, which is the world's biggest mural in Orlando that you cannot see. It's actually on the Dynatech building back there, and even outside, I can't see it. But that's us down there doing other people's work. That was a woman artist named Martha Mahoney that we replicated on the side of that building. And actually, we did that once, and they had a sulfur problem. They didn't seal the building, so they had to repaint it and have us do it again. And I charged them twice. That's the OUC building, which is actually right behind where we are right now. If you guys are going on I-4 this way, you'll see it right over there. So this is more just the commercial stuff as far as, like, I don't think a lot of people really know, aside from my freelance stuff, that we're doing a lot of commercial artwork around town as well. Cocoa Key Resort on I Drive. Sam Flax building, that's a Rothko, the new one. That skydiving place that said they were going to give us a free flight and they never gave it to me. I always wanted to do that too. Has anyone ever done that? Is it awesome? Let me know next time you go. Well, I'll know because I know the future, like I said earlier. More residential work. Just really, I think the point of what I'm trying to do is just trying to show everybody that you never know what you can do until you start looking into yourself and utilizing what you can do. And I don't feel I'm a very conventional artist anyway, because I don't know how to classify myself. When people ask me, I never know what to say. I hate when you say you're an artist to people. You kind of feel like you're copping out, so I don't really say it. But basically, like utilizing what I can do to my fullest potential is very important. And this is, I don't know if you guys know about the Art of Animation buildings down in Disney. That's, how many was it? 650,000? We did 650,000 square feet of exterior murals for this project, which I believe we're trying to get that into the Guinness Book of World Records right now. Was it? About 14 months to do that. 15 people, 14 months, a lot of, it's like going to war when you do something like that. It's a construction zone, and we're all like artsy, and we have to wear like orange jackets and helmets, and you look like the Beastie Boys in the Intergalactic video. And it's hot. God, Florida's hot in summer too. So yeah, if you guys ever go down there and check it out and see the work, you guys did that was the other thing that was cool. Once we got to a point where we could actually hire artists, like hire our friends to work and do this kind of work, was really kind of cool. But putting a bunch of artists together to work is actually really difficult too, because it's like hoarding cats. We're all fighting. So this is, actually after that project was finished, we're currently doing some work over at the new Legoland, theming some rides over there. So back to the illustration stuff. This is some more work that's based on prints, colored pencil stuff. I rip off a lot of stuff. I'm kind of like a sampler. How hip-hop people take music from other people and put it together and make it their own. That's what I do, the same thing. If you can reference the work, that's actually a Prince album cover that I stole. This is based on Paul Gauguin. He's my favorite artist from back in the day. This is about Abe Lincoln, colored pencil, more work, more illustration stuff. I like doing the. Sorry. Yeah, it's like, shouldn't I know? Oh. That's what's cool about this, about talking about this, is being able to show that I think a lot of people aren't really associated with this type of work that I was doing because of the mural stuff I do around town, all the line work stuff, which I'm going to get into shortly here. But I mean, it's like everything, you know? I think the more styles that you have, the better you're going to be. It's like just if you octopus yourself out and do as much as you can, it kind of keeps you interested in everything as far as like doing the faux finish stuff or doing the mural stuff or even doing the DJ thing or whatever it is. But all things feed itself. This is for Fashion Week. This was a backdrop for the Fashion Week up in Winter Park. This is funny. This is Michael Jackson on a bike. And this is another really strange story. I finished this 2 days before he died. So when you're working on something, I'm all listening to Michael Jackson, I'm all into it. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing on Michael Jackson on a bike. It's a cool thing. And then he died on a Thursday. Remember we were hanging out? So I was like, I really wish I hadn't drawn that, because I wish I had drawn like Celine Dion or something. Would have been a lot better. You know? Adam Dorowitz or someone like that. So then I was all depressed because Michael Jackson's such a huge influence. So I tried to do a piece that dictated his life in an illustration, which is him actually in his house in Indiana with his future in front of him when he was the superstar in the 80s, which he didn't really realize how awesome he was, and then when he went nuts. So that's called Remember the Time. This is some more illustration work. You guys remember Bold Hype here, the gallery? They were doing some innovative stuff back here in about 2008, I think they opened, which kind of brought a new scene to Orlando as far as the lowbrow stuff that was going on in California and San Francisco. And they took a bunch of chances with a bunch of artists here, so which was great. And they actually moved up to New York, and they have a gallery up there now, but they kind of put Orlando on the map a little bit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them at all, but you should check them out online. These pieces are from that show. Okay, murals. Anyone remember this building? The old Sam Flax building downtown? That was the first mural that I did in Florida that was like on my own with my business partner Chuck, but that was the first one that we did. And then after we finished it, they moved into another building. Thanks, Sam Flax. Where is he? Is he here, Dave? But the city of Orlando actually put that into their historic society, so they can't paint over it. Now it's like a nail salon, which is weird. And I went in there to tell them, I'm like, do you want me to touch it up? That's the thing, and put some fingernails on it or something? And she's like, no, get out. I said, okay. Tried. This is some murals, interior stuff. I'm into the retro textile stuff. Kind of made this up for a girlfriend of mine has little kids that are totally into Beetlejuice, the Tim Burton stuff. So I did that for them, and the kids love it. So if you guys want that done in your house, let me know. Justin Timberlake has the same pattern in the back of his album that I have in my house. That's actually my living room. It looks like Austin Powers in my house. It's crazy. That's me painting it. City Arts Building downtown. Actually, you guys know where that is, I would assume. Pine and Orange, the entranceway when you come in. That's Chuck Deakins. He was the guy. He was the first guy that actually allowed me to do a mural with a crank pen. You guys know where crank pens came out in 2007. And a lot of the graffiti artists just use them to tag, and that's when I was like, wait a second, these things are like permanent, and they can stand out in the rain for a long time. So that's when I decided to start doing these massive illustrations on walls, because I thought it was something different. And that was the first one that I did in Orlando. That was 2007. And this was a piece in the Bold Hype space for my show, trying to make the example of functional artwork with traditional artwork in a workspace or a living space. And everyone should have one because they make everyone feel happy. Peacock room. That's the girl that's always staring at people. And it's been defaced about 7 times now with drunk people writing on it. Sam Flack's elephant. The new building on Colonial, which they actually have a whole wall that we were going to start a project where every year artists would come in and fill up the spaces with murals and do stuff, but I don't know, they did 4 and then they stopped doing it, but we'll talk to them to get that going again. Public art's always important. That's how it feels when you're muraling outside in Florida. It's hot. Like Africa hot. This is the Longwood Skate Park, which is now defunct as well. Which is kind of cool. If you go in there, that whole building is all rotting away, and this mural is still just sitting there. It looks like something out of, like, I don't know, 12 Monkeys. There's Patrick. Word. That's Patrick's spot right there. Daft Punk. You guys were listening to the new Daft Punk when we walked in. You guys like that? It's awesome. So good. This is the Covert Skate Shop, which is now Space Bar in the Milk District, which is funny. We did this mural. I don't know if you guys heard a quick story. Nike did Van Halen shoes, and they didn't get the rights to do it. So Van Halen sued them, and then these shoes went really expensive. Everyone was trying to get them. So I was like, oh, we need to get sued by Van Halen. Let's do this. Do a giant mural, and we'll make these skateboards, and we'll get sued, and we'll get all this publicity, which was backwards, didn't work. So there's the skateboard. But we sold out of the skateboards, which was cool. Any publicity is free, is good as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, these murals kind of came up, and I started to do them around town, and people started to see them. And you know, as you grow into meeting people, opportunities arise. And there was a girl that I met here that moved out to Vegas and landed the job working for the Real World MTV, which is funny because Shepard Ferry, everyone knows him, was supposed to do that project, and his fee was so high that they were, MTV doesn't pay anything really. I mean, they do, but not, what he wanted. So they didn't have an art direction inside the building. So the girlfriend of mine sabotaged the project by not showing any of the good portfolios that were coming in. And the time crunch was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally, she's like, I got this guy in Orlando who can do it. And it's fine, fly him out here. So I went out there and I'm like, hey. And actually the art director was actually this guy from Boston. So I was like, oh, nice, I can totally use this thing to bond with a guy or whatever. And did. And I ended up doing the suite, which was cool, which is still at the Hard Rock Hotel in Vegas. And then I took that mural, because I didn't know how many people watched the show. I've never even watched the show. But I wanted to replicate it in Orlando. So if anyone watched the show and wanted to see it, they could be like, oh, this is what the mural looks like. So it's on the side of the Hideaway Bar in Virginia. Does anyone know about that place? If you guys really want to find me, that's basically where I'm at all the time. Everyone knows. We call that the office, which is also kind of cool. It's kind of a collective. There's a lot of creative people that hang out there, a lot of scenics, a lot of artists, it's not as scary as it used to be. That was the Gibson Guitar Town project, which is also, you might see this floral pattern continual because I love it. That's what I have in my house. And now this is actually, when I was in Vegas, this is funny, I was hanging out with the art director guy, and we were walking to go get some lunch, and he asked me if I had done anything else, and this was actually at the entrance of the Hard Rock in Vegas. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I did that too. So it made me look awesome. It's like, oh yeah, shit's everywhere. No, it's not. Surf Expo collaboration with Dalla Bill, good friend of mine, awesome, great graffiti artist. I think that's another thing that a lot of artists don't normally do is work together with other artists because it's an ego thing or some story, or they don't like you, or they don't, your style doesn't mesh or whatever. But when it works, it works. I thought this was pretty good. We actually auctioned this off. Jedediah Clothing out of California auctioned it off, and someone bought it. I don't know how the hell they got it out of the Surf Expo, but they did. They had a big truck. Art Basel. You guys been to Basel down in Miami? If you guys haven't, you should, because that's like the greatest thing ever, and it's like 4 hours from here. It's like the best. So many things to see. There's a project called Primary Flights, which is a mural project that they have set up in the city throughout Basel, and I got on the list and was able to do this image, which was funny because the guy across the street was a Pakistani store owner, and I was doing this, and I was like, you cool with this? He's like, I don't like it. I'm like, well, it's not negative. It's actually about music. I was thinking about this series I started called Taliban Disco. Because it's like, if they just had disco in their lives, maybe they wouldn't be blowing everything up, you know? But music's like religion. I think it actually speaks better than, brings people together more than that. It definitely works. This was Death by Pop. This is kind of funny. My brother's got 2 little girls, and I was up in Boston and didn't know what to get them because I don't know how to take care of kids. And and they wanted a Justin Bieber drawing, so I did them the little drawing and I gave it to them. And then I went down, moved back, came back down here, and Death by Pop opened up, and they said that we want to do an anti-rock star thing. And I'm like, I already get this drawing I have. I can just replicate it and we'll put them on a dartboard. So that's that. Some more commercial stuff. This was I got hired by Jameson. And this is kind of weird. You know when you get hired by a company because they like your stuff, and then you're like, oh, right, I'm going to do this. And then they're like, no, we want you to do that. And I say, okay, so this, I could do it, but this is in Williamsburg. A lot of people with beards and monocles live there. I don't get it. It's like, if I lived there, everyone looks like in like the 1920s. I'd dress like a moon man or something, you know, like a cape, the future. I scaled the building when I was working there because I wanted to get the Williamsburg Bridge behind it. The guy told me to get off the roof. Snap Orlando, another big project with Patrick Kahn that happens here. Just happened last month. This was from last year, downtown. He thought it was a good idea. We kind of collaborated to do, I was replicating some of the photography that was in the show on the wall so people could, you know, kind of interact, a little bit more publicity for me and him, and murals around town. Amway Arena, I'm actually doing underneath the stage, the backstage area right now. So I think Paul McCartney saw this and said it was cool, yes, like last week, and I was like, oh my God, really? He saw it? Awesome. And it's funny too because the Amway, they told me not to do anything basketball related. They said everything that goes on inside the arena other than basketball. So I figured I would do, you know, the road boxes for the bands that come in, and the circus comes to town, even though I don't really support Ringling, how they abuse animals, but kids like it. That's a little girl that likes elephants. So this mural is actually in progress right now and will be going the whole distance on the inside. You can kind of see it, the size of it there. Food truck craze. It's going all over Orlando. I'm sure some of you have eaten from those before. This is Over Rice. Polynesian friends of mine from Hawaii gave me this blank canvas, and you know what's the bus from Scooby-Doo? I was like, oh, we can do it like this. It'd be awesome. And he was cool. He's just like, yeah, whatever you want to do, just do it. So that's that. If you see that around town, check them out. The food's good in Beep. Daily Buzz show in Full Sail. Went over there to do a benefit. Ended up hitting it off with these people, and they said, do you want to design our set? I said, yeah. So that's another mural that you can see, which is stupid because I didn't know that. I thought that was just like a local thing. I got friends in like New York and Hawaii that are like, we saw it on TV, and I'm like, oh, I thought that was just Orlando, but it's not. Surprising. Way to do my homework, right? A Deuce Hair Salon. Big face, girl. That's new. Steelhouse Building. which just opened on Orange and Colonial. You can go in there and see that girl staring at you. It's like a bigger version of the Peacock Room. Mills 50. This is the project that we're kind of working on right now as far as some of these graffiti wall problems that they're having. If we can start to mural them, I think that they'll get some more money for the city to fund. But we're talking about, me and Commissioner Patty Sheehan, about doing some more mural projects with the Sunrail that's coming in and bringing in other artists to work and cover these areas, and hopefully they wouldn't be respected and not tagged. And that was the first one, and we tried it on Mills across from Wally's at Forbidden City. And oddly enough, it's worked, because they had a huge graffiti problem with this wall, and since it's been there, no one's tagged it, which is good. We have cameras on it too. We can see you do it. So this is, now, am I running long? Am I good? I don't know if am I babbling on and on up here? You guys comfortable? Okay. All right, I'm just gonna pile through some stuff real fast. This is some piece I did for Quentin Tarantino tribute show up in New York. Obviously based on the Michael Jackson Thriller album, Bad cover, sorry. That's my man right there, Martin Luther King illustration. This is the Taliban disco stuff in color. Spearlife.com is my website, by the way. That's why I have the cards on there, if you guys didn't know. Yeah, so artists, we kind of work in a series, so I was all hell-bent on this idea for a while. I know the girl that owns that is actually here, isn't she? Yes, she is. Taliban disco, battle tapes. I had a show up in New York, too, last year, and I wasn't allowed to put up one of these pieces because they thought it was too controversial, which I thought was weird. And that's this one. Spirit of Radio, Taliban, getting down to sound as opposed to killing people. But because I put the gun in there, he wouldn't let me hang it. I thought, isn't he supposed to take risks? Isn't he supposed to have people ask questions with your artwork? I mean, that's the whole point. That was going to be the mural for the Hideaway before, but I figured I didn't want people going in there to watch TV, so I didn't do that. So, Daily Buzz. That's how I got on the show, doing some charity work for, did an auction after that earthquake that killed a lot of people over there. So I'm just going to wrap that up because there's probably too much stuff in here and it just kind of goes on and on. So, sorry everybody. Yeah. If anyone has any questions, please feel free, because now I feel like myself. I'm not doing that. Yes? Yeah, that's a good, yeah. He asked if I do a grid, how we transfer the murals up on the wall. Some people like to think that if you actually use a projector and trace your stuff, then you're cheating, which I don't think that's true. If you're just if you're tracing your own drawing, and that saves a lot of time. Yeah, I do it that way, but I also do it depending on the space of where I'm at. The gridding things out. Like at Disney, when you have a wall that's the size of that building, you can't put a projector out there. You have to. It's a lot of math. So yeah. Man Brothers is the best. Star Scenic Supply over off of OBT is they have like the craziest stuff for all the scenic people. So if you haven't checked out that store, they have some awesome stuff in there. It's expensive, but it's good. Sometimes you have to spend the money. Say that? What's that? Yeah, it's happened a couple times. I like to think of it, if it happens, you want to kill it like the next day. Like if I see something that I've done and it gets tagged, I'll go back and fix it like right away. Kind of like, you ever read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. He kind of discussed how they cleaned up the New York City subway trains by every time they would come in, they'd wash them off and keep doing it, and you want to stop that epidemic. So it's not really happening as much because I think people kind of respect it more, that I'm not just the street kid that I was. So I hope that's true. I don't know. Don't tag any of this stuff. It's not cool. Well, I didn't. I was going to get into it. I got hired. Thanks. I got hired by Live Nation in January, working for the Beastie Boys, which is crazy because I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan, right? So I did that, which was kind of like a dream job. And then working with them, they're like an umbrella company for merchandise. So these other people saw it, and the other people was Deadmau5, the DJ. He saw it, and he's like, "Oh, I want to use that." So they brought me in, and then Dave Grohl saw it, Foo Fighters people. So I just did a job with them. Actually, once this wraps up, I'm working for Kiss right now, doing merchandise stuff. So that's being the music person and working in that field, specifically with bands and stuff. It's like the best job ever. And it's freelance, and I get to work in my house and not have to put on pants. I'm wearing them now, though. My mom's going to see this, I think. Yeah. As far as... yeah. No, I mean... I'm not really too political. I mean, I am, but not wearing a Public Enemy shirt. Of course I'm political. No, I mean, I think the one thing that I would kind of stray away from the most is a lot of the sarcastic stuff. And I don't mean sarcastic, I think that I'm not being sarcastic with the Taliban disco stuff. I'm being serious about that. I think that it's a real issue. If they looked into it and started dancing around a little bit, they wouldn't have this problem. Really, it's easy. But when I see people that do the fat kid that's eating McDonald's paintings and stuff like that, the gluttony and stuff, why would you? I don't understand why people would want that in their house. I don't think that's very positive. But that's probably the only thing I would not get involved in is that stuff, which I think everyone loves it, but I don't like it. So, that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hope that was not too painful.